It's a very interesting thing to have been a Western practitioner at a time when Buddhism's going through a very powerful phase shift, where in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, we sort of had the 10,000 cart monk vision. 10,000 cart monk is, I can do anything I want. I'm just free. I have a basic attachment to emptiness. And I remember when Genpo Roshi came here, he gave a wonderful teaching on great death. You know, it's this sort of 5-phase thing that you process of spiritual maturation, but it also sounds like the path of relationship too. But we're not doing that talk tonight. But this is one phase is called great death. And great death is this experience where you are deeply embedded in or attached to, oriented toward emptiness, so that you're beyond the realm of consequences. And then Genpo Roshi, since he has been the subject of consequences, says that when you are too embedded in the realm of great death, then you have the next little parenthesis experience, and that's called the fall from grace, which I thought that was a very good observation on his part from personal experience, of course. And we've all fallen from grace. And every time we practice, there's not a person in this room, no matter how skillful you are or I am or you think I might be as a practitioner, how many years you've been on the cushion, you know, what your credentials look like, it's inevitable you fall from grace every few minutes, if not more often. And it's that old Zen adage, you know, fall off the wagon 53 times, pick yourself up 54 times. So the precepts are these wonderful conditions that represent, you know, what would it be like if I were a Buddha? But you are a Buddha, of course. But if I were the Buddha, how would I really live? And you'd live as these precepts are expressed. You'd live in a way that didn't harm other beings with body, speech, or mind, or didn't harm yourself. So we have explored the precept of non-killing, of non-stealing, of not engaging in sexual misconduct, and not engaging in harmful speech. And this last precept is called not taking intoxicants. And it's not very popular in the West, particularly since most of us have grown out of beer into wine. And it's something that causes us a lot of tension and makes us feel conflicted. And so I'm very happy that anybody showed up tonight, because particularly a couple of friends of mine who are in this room, I know that you like to have your wine, and I like to have it with you. So this is a chance for us to look at, you know, what does it mean to not take intoxicants? And when I was thinking about this talk tonight, I just made a little scratch of my pencil on top of my notes, because I was just in Zen Center of Los Angeles, which had its 40th anniversary. And its founder and abbot was a great imbiber of alcohol, and actually went to Betty Ford Treatment Center. And his whole community collapsed and almost died. This is Maizumi Roshi, from his alcoholism and also from his conduct that arose out of his alcohol problems. And in fact, he died because of alcohol, as Trungpa Rinpoche did, and you know, lots of people died because of this. And it was a very interesting experience to be there, because how that community is now, of which we are a part, and we've all been a part of dysfunctional families who have righted themselves. And the community now is it's normal. There's a very kind of normal feeling in the community, not of hyper-righteousness, but of having been chastened, if you will, in the best sense of chastened. having really learned from the experiences that many of us had in the 60s, 70s, and 80s of being attached to emptiness, or thinking, you know, we sort of had a taste of the Buddha and therefore could do anything without consequences. And it's not as if we're in reaction formation and have become horribly conservative and oppressive, but we feel kind of humbled, actually. I mean, we feel humbled because alcoholism, for example, is a major problem in Japan, as it is in the Himalayas and the Tibetan Plateau. We feel humbled because our own Buddhist and Christian communities have confronted the issue of alcoholism. And we also feel humbled because we thought the main toxic substance that, you know, we were addressing was alcohol, because that's what the Buddha said. And we realized, you know, with the deepening of our practice, that actually not taking intoxicants, that is poisons, refers not just to alcohol or to, you know, mind-altering substances in the general sense of putting a chemical in your body, because we've discovered something else. It refers to anything, including our own practice, which can become a toxin for us. So my first wonderful opening to this sensibility came one day when I was listening to Bernie. Some of you have heard me tell this story. My third Buddhist teacher, Glassman Roshi, and he was in Europe and he was giving a talk, and I was part of the gaggle. And he said, well, I've had one addiction really bad all my life. And that's it. It's just really one big addiction. We were all like, oh, what's your addiction? We thought it was cigars. Or maybe it was pepperoni. We weren't sure. And so all of us had our, you know, little ears right up like that. And he said, you know, I've been completely addicted to myself. And I thought, that is so cool. And that story just really penetrated to me, because I just, you know, sometimes I'm telling people around here, you've got to see this wonderful program, or this little video that the Sawang, Trungpa Rinpoche's son, put together called It's All About Me. But it's all about me. And so Bernie said, you know, I've been on this kind of 12-step program for, you know, 30, 40 years. And I can totally relate to what he's saying. In the classical expression of the 5th precept, number 5, it says, a disciple of Buddha does not intoxicate mind or body of self or other. Very interesting. But if you look at the other precepts, the preceding 4 precepts, they're all about interaction. Don't kill. Don't steal. Don't engage in sexual misconduct. And don't engage in speech that harms. But the whole thing is standing on the foundation, don't take intoxicants, which has to do with some kind of individual responsibility. It also says, you know, don't give intoxicants to others, so that implies the relational. But this is an intrapsychic dimension, which is kind of important.